Hello, I'm Nikmatul Faizah, and in this video, I will review a short story that I've already read that entitled Cold as Clay by Alvin Schwartz. So, without any further ado, let's go! First of all, let me read the synopsis for you. So, in this story, about a farmer that disapproves of his daughter's relationship with a farmhand named Jim. To keep them apart, he sends her away to live with her uncle. Heartbroken, Jim falls ill and dies, unbeknownst to the guilt-ridden farmer. In a twist of events, the farmer mistakenly sends Jim to fetch his daughter, leading to a mysterious disappearance. The truth unfolds when the farmer reveals Jim's death, and haunting discovery in the grave adds a supernatural dimension to the narrative. So, the story explores themes of love separation and unintended consequences, weaving a poignant and enigmatic tale. Now, let's review the components that include in the story. So, first of all, the components that I will explain is the author of this story. So, the author of this story is Alvin Schwartz. Alvin Schwartz was an American author and journalist who wrote more than 50 books dedicated to and dealing with topics such as folklore and wordplay and so on, including this story. This story is one of his short stories in the book that entitled Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark that published in 1981. So this story is one of the short stories in an anthology that entitled Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark that published in 1981. And then let's move to the genre. So the genre of this story can be categorized as horror or mystery. Certain aspects such as the mysterious disappearance of Jim, the supernatural twist with the girl's handkerchief, and the revelation of the truth about Jim's death can evoke a sense of unease or suspense. So because the story including such a horror scene and mystery scene also, like the appearance of Jim that knocks the door of the woman that he loves, but actually in that time James already died. So who is the person or the man that knocks the door of the woman if James already dead? We don't know, and this is the mystery of this story. And then the daughter of the farmer or the woman that James fall in love with exactly don't know that Jim already dead. Then Jim just said that he will pick up the woman to his father's house. And then the woman just happy and believe in what James said. And in the middle of their ride to her father's house, Jim just feel like cold. His skin is really cold, and then it just feel weird for the woman, and the woman just give her handkerchief to Jim's head. And then after they arrive in the farmer house or her dad's house, and then the daughter tell her father about James, but then her father say that it's impossible that James pick up her because Jim is already dead. And then to prove that to his daughter, then the farmer showed the grave of James and just open up, and then after that it's the handkerchief of the girl or of the woman was found in in the in the grave, in the skeleton of James. So that's the mysterious story about it. That's the horror vibes too, because how can James pick up the girl, and uh, how can the handkerchief uh, inside the grave? Did did Jim just did Jim just stand up from his death, and then we don't know. Now let's talk about the language of this story. So this story used originally written in English because the author was American. And then the theme of this short story is love, inspiration, and supernatural. So the story happened because the farmer's daughter fall in love with his farmhand. That's called Jim. So they fall in love with each other, but the farmer didn't give the farmer disapproval their relationship. So the farmer just sent his daughter on the other side of the countries, and she's spirited with Jim, and then Jim just feel frustrated and depressed until he dies because of that. And then supernatural in here, when the woman or the daughter of the farmer just hear the knocks from her door, and then she saw Jim but with a pale face. And then after that, in the road to the farmer house, she just touched Jim's forehead, and that's really cold as clay. And then she gives the handkerchief to Jim's head. That's why this story called as Ckay. That's why this story entitled Cold as Clay, because when the woman or the daughters of the farmer touch Jim's forehead, it's just cold as clay, like someone that already died. And then times to read. I think I need 10 minutes to read the story because this short story is short. I mean, not too long to read, but it's complete. Like the plot and the structure is complete. And then the narrator. This story using third point of view because it's not from the characters that include in the story, but from the other observer that know all of the events or all the things in the story. Okay, now let's talk about the characters of the story. So the first, we have the farmer. He is protective and traditional and perhaps somewhat controlling. His decision to separate his daughter from Jim is driven by belief that Jim is not suitable for her daughter. So because of the farmer decision, he sends his daughter to the other country, so she's paired with Jim, and then they just never meet. And then because of that, Jim just frustrated and depressed, and then he dies. So I think in this story there are no explanation about the antagonist or protagonist or supporting characters, but maybe the farmer can be categorized as the antagonist because he is the one that make or the reason to the problem of the story. And then we have the daughter of the farmer, the woman that James fell in love with. So the daughter in here likely characterized by love and devotion as she continues to think about Jim even after being sent away. Her willingness to reunite with Jim shows a strong emotional connection. So the daughter in here is really fall in love with Jim also, but she's forced to separate it with Jim because of his father's decision. And then now the last character is Jim, of course. So Jim depicted as a figure of tragic love. Jim's character is defined by heartbreak and eventual death. The story doesn't delve deeply into his personality, but his actions and the emotional impact on others suggest a romantic and devoted nature. So Jim's in here feeling depressed and frustrated because he's parted from his love. So because of that, his mental and his health was down, and then he died because of it. Now we move to the plot of this story. So basically this story uses chronological plot. The story follows a chronological plot structure presenting events in the order in which they occur over time. It begins with the introduction of the farmer's disapproval, followed by daughter's separation, Jim's illness and death, the mistaken attempt to reunite the couple, and the eventual revelation of the truth. The use of chronological order helps unfold the narrative in a way that builds suspense and reveals the consequences of the characters' actions over time. So the plot is chronological from the beginning until the end. Now let's talk about the settings. So we have three settings in here. First, the farmer house, and then the other side of the country, especially the uncle of the farmer's daughter, and then the graveyard. So in the farmer house, the place when James pick up the woman to her father, and in this case the farmer house. And then the other side of the country of the uncle. Now the problem of this story. So the central problem in the story arises from the farmer's disapproval of his daughter's relationship with Jim. This disapproval leads to the daughter's forced separation from Jim, causing a chain of events that includes Jim's heartbreak, illness, and then eventual death. The mistaken attempt to reunite the couple by sending Jim to fetch the daughter results in a mysterious and tragic twist as Jim disappears and the truth about his death is revealed. The core problem revolves around the consequences of the farmer's decision to keep the two lovers apart, leading to heartache, misunderstandings, and a haunting resolution. So the problem is because of disapproval of the farmer about the relationship between Jim and her and his daughter. He sends his daughter far away from Jim, and then Jim, frustrated, and he is sick, and then eventually death. And then after that, after a year, the woman hears someone knocks her door, and then she saw Jim just stand up in front of the door with a pale face. He said that he will pick up the woman to come back to her father's house, in the case the farmer. And then the woman agreed to do that because she still fall in love with Jim even after a long time. They don't meet each other. And then after that, Jim just pick up the girl to the farmer house, and in the middle Jim just feels so cold, the skin of him. And then after that, the girl or the woman give him her handkerchief to Jim forehead, because the woman just afraid that Jim is under the weather. And then after that, they arrive in the farmer house, and then the farmer just said that it's impossible to Jim to pick up her because the reality Jim is already dead. And then to prove that, the farmer just showed the graveyard and of Jim and open up, and it's already to be skeleton, but then in the forehead there is a handkerchief of the woman that she gave to the Jim before. That's the plot twist. So we don't know, is that really Jim, or is just the ghost of Jim to just reunite with his lover. And then we move to the moral value of the story. So I think after I read the story, I have the three point of moral values. First is understanding and communication. Understand someone's decision is important, and also we have to communicate all the things that maybe doesn't feels right for us, but we still have to communicate with the person that we will talk about it. Like in the story, the farmer just don't want to understand about the relationship between James and his daughter, and then he just being ignorant, and then just send the daughter to the other side of the country and spared her daughter and Jim. And then communicate. It's really important to communicate the things, especially the problem of us, maybe to someone else. And then the second, acceptance and respect for choices. So I think sometimes we need to accept someone's decision and also respect their choice. Like what happened to the farmer and his daughter, because the farmer just disapproval of the relationship between James and her daughter. That's why the farmer just spared them, and then he doesn't respect the decision that his daughter chose James. For the example, his daughter just chose Jim to be her husband, but then the farmer don't want to accept it. That's why he sent his daughter to the other country. So his daughter will never meet James again. And then the value of honesty. So I think it's important to being honest or to tell the truth if it's important to someone. For example, in this story, dishonesty of the farmer to his daughter. After Jim's death, the farmer just don't want to tell his daughter because he's afraid to make his daughter sad because of her love was already died. But that's not true, because actually we have to always learn to being honest to someone, even though that make them unhappy or maybe sad, because sometimes the best thing we have to do is to being honest about the condition or the truth that we know about someone or something. And then the mood. So when I read the story, the mood that I felt was sad and overwhelming. So it's sad to just see this tragedy between Jim and the woman, because they actually fall in love with each other, but they just can't be together just because the farmer disapproval of their relationship. And then overwhelming also, because I don't know how to feel. It's mystery, and then the plot twist in the end, because how can Jim just pick up the woman or the daughter of the farmer? Because actually the reality, James just already died, right? So that's the mystery that still cannot be solved. And then the mystery about how can the handkerchief of the woman also inside the grave of James, because James just have it after he picks up the woman. So I think it's the real Jim, but maybe the ghost of Jim. I don't know. It's a little bit hard to understand, but it's a beautiful story actually. Now rate. I think I will rate this story 7 out of 10 because this story quite fun, not quite fun, I mean quite overwhelming, and give us that curious feeling to just know the ending, but also give us sadness because of the ending that just they cannot be together even though they love each other, the woman and James. And then message for the next reader. I think for someone that want to know more about Alvin's Quiet must read this story also and the other stories also, because in these anthologies, in these scary stories to tell in the dark by Alvin, there are so much short stories that we can read, including the story that I read right now. And the story is quite fun and also give us that horror vibes because this story is scary, I think. But what I already read, and also this story, I don't think the story is terrifying, but maybe more like tragic, but it still include mystery genre and still have horror vibes. Actually, the supernatural scenes are event when Jim just knocks the woman's door, even though the real James already died a long time ago. So that's all the components and the review that I can tell you about this short story. Thank you for watching and goodbye in the next video.